Hello viewers, welcome to this particular lecture on microbiology. In this particular lecture, I shall be covering some aspects of nitrogen fixation and the different activities of NIF gene, that is nitrogen fixation gene, and NOD gene, that is nodule initiating gene. To start with, the nitrogen cycle is a very important biogeochemical cycle. It is operating in nature, but at the same time, we must understand that this nitrogen cycle is operating mainly with the activities of different microbes. These microbes may include bacteria, cyanobacteria, and also some other different prokaryotes. This particular nitrogen cycle mainly include the nitrogen fixation, which is carried out by bacteria and cyanobacteria. It will also include the nitrification, that is gradual degradation of complex nitrogenous compound to nitrate, and denitrification, by which ammonia and other complex compounds are returned back to nature as nitrogen gas. So these three processes actually keep in balance the amount of nitrogen present in the atmosphere and that present in the soil. Though apart from that, there may be the physical process of lightning by which some amount of nitrogen might come to the soil, or there may be some human activity. Through chemical activity we can also produce ammonia. So that particular process is actually the Haber-Bosch process. The Haber-Bosch process is including a very complex process by which nitrogen and hydrogen will react at a very high temperature, almost 450 to 500 degrees centigrade, and a very high pressure, almost 300 bar, and it is compressed to produce ammonia. So there may be 1, 2, 3, 4 major steps. Ultimately ammonia is produced, and it requires huge amount of energy. So this process is not really advisable. And when we consider the total amount of nitrogen fixation, if it is approximately 10 to the power 12 gram per year, the total amount of nitrogen fixed, almost nearly 80% is non-biological, and almost double of that, this is the total content is 80 into 10 to the power 12 gram, and almost double of that is biological. So what does it mean? It means that the biological nitrogen fixation is almost double that of chemical nitrogen fixation that is operating in nature or that is operating in industry. Now the process of nitrogen fixation include the enzyme, the unique enzyme nitrogenase. This nitrogenase is actually having two definite components. One is the iron protein reductase and the other one is the nitrogenase, which is having the FEMO, that is iron and molybdenum cofactor. And these two components together will produce the ammonia. But when we consider the entire reaction, it involves nitrogen reacting with H+ ion, reacting with electron, and 16 ATP molecules will only produce 2 molecules of ammonia, and it will generate hydrogen and ADP and inorganic phosphate. So this is the complete process of nitrogen fixation that operates in bacteria. Now this process of nitrogen fixation actually involves the generation of acetyl coenzyme A, and then it is converted to reduced ferredoxin, or rather I should say, when the pyruvate is converted to acetyl coenzyme A, some amount of flavoprotein is generated, and this flavoprotein will activate the nitrogen reductase or nitrogenase, which will ultimately generate the ammonia and hydrogen. And this hydrogen again can be converted to H+ and electron by hydrogenase. Okay?
So what is the effect on nitrogen fixation in the absence of hydrogenase?
Yeah, if hydrogenase is absent, then nitrogen fixation will take place, but it will be slower process. Why? Because this electron which is available because of the hydrogenase activity will not be there to reduce the ferredoxin again. So the process may get delayed because the electron will come from a different source. Okay? Now coming to the complete process of nitrogen fixation, as I told you, it is basically done by nitrogenase, but this nitrogenase include several steps, that is oxidized ferredoxin produced from reduced ferredoxin, and then the reduced Fe protein is actually oxidized to iron protein, and finally this particular oxidized phemoprotein is converted to reduced phemoprotein. So reduction, oxidation, then reduction, oxidation, followed by oxidation to reduction. And this reduced phemoprotein will ultimately generate the electron, which will be accepted by N2H2, will be producing NH2, and finally NH3 is generated. So it is not a one-step process. Gradually the reduction potential increases by the acceptance of hydrogen and electron, right? So this process of nitrogen fixation can be carried out by different sets of organisms which are all microbes. And when we classify it, it can be of two major types. One is free-living nitrogen fixer, another one is symbiotic nitrogen fixer. The free-living nitrogen fixer can be aerobic, can be anaerobic. Aerobic ones can be Azotobacter, Bezoarhynchia. Anaerobic ones can be Clostridium, purple sulfur bacteria. And symbiotic again can be leguminous. They are also anaerobic, Rhizobium, and other plants can be Frankia or Azospirillum. But all of them normally operate in absence of oxygen. Azotobacter is a particular microorganism or a bacteria which can fix nitrogen with or without oxygen. But normally this is the culture of Azotobacter, and these are the bacterial cells. They normally will have extracellular polysaccharide which will prevent the percolation of oxygen. So somewhat, though I say that they can fix nitrogen without or with oxygen, but they prefer without oxygen. But of course, even if with oxygen they can perform. But for other organisms like this Rhizobium, this nitrogen fixation normally occurs by nitrogenase in absence of oxygen. So there must be some pigment, and here it is leg hemoglobin, which is taking away or scavenging the oxygen from the site of nitrogenase. But when it comes to this particular filamentous cyanobacteria, where you can see there is a typical structure called heterocyst, and this heterocyst is a thick-walled cell which is, first of all, which will have less amount of chlorophyll, so there will be less photosynthesis, and at the same time, because it is less photosynthesis, there will be less amount of oxygen generated from photolysis of water. And second point is, even if photosynthesis occurs, it will be only PS1. You know, PS1 is not liberating any oxygen. So as a result of which, oxygen scavenging action naturally occurs, and they can actually activate the nitrogenase enzyme to fix nitrogen. Okay. Now this particular leguminous plant, say pea and other plant, they have a typical root nodule formed, and these root nodules are actually formed by the entry of a particular bacteria which is Rhizobium. And this Rhizobium, the moment they enter, they follow a definite pathway and they modify those cells, and they actually cause an infection and they create a nodule. It is entering the host cell, but it is not a parasite. Why? First of all, it is not really harming the regular metabolic activity on one hand, and secondly, it is actually helping in nitrogen fixation, and this nitrogen fixation or production of ammonia is helping the plant to generate protein. So it is not a parasite, though it enters the plant. Now this particular activity is noticed inside the bacteroid or the bacteria which has entered the plant. So what happens is, this particular bacteroid will ultimately generate electron, and this electron will be following a specific electron transport system and will generate ATP, and this ATP will be activating the nitrogenase, and this nitrogenase will ultimately generate ammonia, I told you in step by step, and this ammonia will ultimately produce the glutamine and asparagine, and this glutamine and asparagine is available to the plant. When this particular activity is taking place, oxygen, if it is at all produced, it is taken away by this leg hemoglobin. So three major things. One is generation of ATP, activation of nitrogenase, scavenging of oxygen, and of course utilization of ammonia to produce different amino acids. Now this particular structure is that of the leg hemoglobin. It is almost equivalent to human hemoglobin, having the same function, where there is weak type of bond between the hemoglobin molecule and oxygen, but here it takes place in the plant to take away oxygen from nitrogenase. Apart from this particular rhizobium, there may be much more active bradyrhizobium. Now, why bradyrhizobium is more active? Because it has got a faster divisional rate and greater colonization. So they will be having more nitrogen fixed in comparison to rhizobium, and they are present in the rhizosphere. So sometimes they can even fix nitrogen without the presence of any specific host plant. That is another advantage. But here you must keep in mind that this particular bacteria, I was telling you, it is not a parasite, because clearly there is a distinct difference between the bacterial cell and the plant cell. So the wall is having a demarcation between the bacteria and plant, and thereby the bacteria cannot really inhibit the metabolic activity inside the plant root. Now this is not the only one. There may be other types of unique nitrogen fixation systems. One such system is the alder or alnus plant along with this orange nodule of Frankia. So Frankia and alnus is also another unique symbiotic system, which is non-leguminous system fixing nitrogen. And this is the culture of Frankia, and this bacteria is actually filamentous in nature. Apart from this, there may be another unique system where there is the Anabina. Anabina azoli is actually a cyanobacteria which will grow inside the water or aquatic pteridophyte, which is the azolla. And thereby they fix nitrogen and they enrich the soil with nitrogen, which is commonly seen in case of paddy field. So paddy fields have more this type of azolla because of this nitrogen fixation. But mind you, this is not done by azolla, this is done by Anabina. Okay? You may also have this cycas plant. This is a gymnosperm. In the cycas plant, these are the root of cycas infested with cyanobacteria. So much is the infestation that the original shape of the root is modified and they become coralloid. So this type of association is often called corallorhiza. And by this corallorhiza, what is happening? The nitrogen supply to the cycas plant is ensured. Okay. So by this time we have understood that what are the different types of nitrogen fixation association. So let us discuss some aspects of this particular NIF gene. So I told you what are NIF gene. NIF gene actually is a group of gene which ultimately will help in nitrogen fixation. Now NIF gene, as I told you, is having different types of gene. But here if we consider the broad aspect, essentially there is a gene called NTRC which will activate NIF-A gene, and NIF-A activation will definitely be there when there is less nitrogen in the medium. Then only nitrogen fixation occurs. So once the NIF-A is activated, it will activate the nitrogenase enzyme, and thereby the NIF operon will be switched on and the nitrogen fixation will occur and there will be ammonia production. When there is adequate ammonia produced, the NIF-L, which is the switching off principle, will get activated and will inhibit the nitrogen fixation. And the NIF-L is also actually helped by certain other genes like GLIN-D and GLIN-K. So this is a unique, this is not a one gene, a group of genes performing together like an orchestra, helping in ultimate nitrogen fixation. In case of Klebsiella pneumoniae, mind you, it is a pneumonia causing organism, but this pneumonia causing organism can also fix nitrogen. And here you can see clearly this H, D, K, T, Y, E, N, X, U, S, and thereby all these genes have unique activity. They produce this Fe protein, they produce this FeMO protein from D and K, and thereby this FeMO-Co is produced, which ultimately will activate the A and L. So you can thereby understand it is like a beautiful step-by-step process that this NIF operon is activated, and once it is activated, ammonia is generated, and once the ammonia is generated, the NIF is automatically switched off. So it's a unique orchestra. And another very interesting observation was made in Rhodospirillum. In Rhodospirillum, what happened was there is a unique process of ADP ribosylation. Actually, this ADP ribosylation is brought about by this particular DRA-T or dinitrogenase reductase. This ribosylation, once it is ribosylated, it will make the particular NIF inactive. and thereby once it is getting inactive, it will stop, and then it goes back to this particular deribosylation of ADP, and again it becomes active. So what I am trying to say is that NIF operation is helped by this DRAT and DRAG, which ultimately will bring about ribosylation of ADP, helping in the activation or inactivation of nitrogen fixation gene. Apart from that, this NTRB, NTRC, NIF-A all together, you can see along with this DRAT and DRAG are active in case of Rhodobacter. Basically, they are the same old players. These same old players along with this DRAT and DRAG are helping in the activation of NIF gene. So you can very well imagine that it is not a single gene. Several promoting factors are there which ultimately will bring about nitrogen fixation. And this is of course this typical rhizobium action, where you can see clearly that activation of NIF-A will ultimately activate the nitrogenase enzyme, helping in the ammonia production, and once the ammonia is accumulated, the NIF-L will switch off the process. Now we come to the last part of our deliberation today, that is the NOD gene. Now NOD gene is actually the nodule initiating gene. Nodule can be initiated in the root, but specifically it must be infected by specific nodule initiating bacteria or bacteroid. And here in this case, there are some factors or not factors which are active in the host plant, and thereby the nodule will be initiated. So anybody and everybody will not be producing any nodule. Okay.
So what are the criteria that determine host specificity?
There are different criteria. One criteria is production of lectin. Lectin is produced from the plant root surface. Second criteria is activation of certain protein, nodulin. Third criteria is production of some flavonoid which will attract the particular bacteria. So you see, every protein must get a specific receptor, so the binding is there and the nitrogen fixation is triggered off. Of course, the nitrogen fixation needs the house. So who is the house? The nodule is the house. So first the process of nodulation has to be triggered off, then the process of nitrogen fixation will follow. Clear? So I was talking about certain factors, and these factors are broadly called NOD factors or nodule initiating factors. And basically they are chemically tri or hexamer of beta 1,4 linked N-acetyl D-glucosamine. So these are the basic component of node factor with some specific side chain represented as R1, R2, R3, R4, R5, etc. So if we compare that, there are different plants like the rhizobium in the pea plant, they may have the different R factors. For Meliloti, it can be AH, it can be fatty acid 16,2, it can be the sulfate for R4, or R5 in most cases is hydrogen. Similarly, if it is trifoli, it is C18,2, R2, it can be for Vc, it is 18,1. In this way you can see by modification of the side chain, the nodule initiating factors modify. So what does it mean? It means that a specific side chain is actually helping in the attraction of a particular bacteria to the plant cell. So that is indicating specificity. So similarly, you can also have this particular Freddy or the soybean where there is C18,1 and there are some iron factors which help in the adherence of the bacteria. So in this way, a specific reaction is there between the plant root and the bacteria, and that will result in this particular tumorous growth, which is called the nodule. So nodule, when we see the electron microscopic view, it is just a tumor, but this tumor is not affecting the plant. Why? Because the tumor is outside the cortex, so it is not a parasite. And whenever I consider the different stages, it may include the recognition, excitation, invasion, entry, and nodulation. So these are the different steps of nodule initiation in plant root. And if we consider the biochemical process, it's very interesting. You can see this is the plant root surface, this is the bacteria or the rhizobium. They will be attracted by the flavonoid, and as they are attracted, the node ABC will be active and there will be infection. As the node ABC is active, it will further activate the other node factors like node S and node U. and thereby they will produce the nodulin factors. And this is the nod factors or nodulin factors which will help in the entry of the particular bacteria inside the cortex. And this particular entry is also helped by specific signaling. So who are the signals? Those nod factors. And who are the attractants? These particular flavonoids. So flavonoids are attracting and the nod factors are signaling. And the result is there is the binding of a specific nodule initiating bacteria and the plant cell.
So when do plants secrete flavonoids?
Yeah, that's a very good question. You see, plant also know that, okay, there is some bacteria in the vicinity. The moment they understand, they will start producing flavonoids. So if there is some specific bacteria giving some specific exopolysaccharide signal, the plant root immediately will start producing flavonoid. And as they produce the flavonoid, automatically the nod gene will be activated and the entire array of event will follow, ultimately will result in the binding of the bacteria with the plant cell. So this is the electron microscopy under fluorescence, where you can see this is the bacteria and this is how they colonize outside the root cell and how do they enter, and this is how the nodule formation is initiated. So this is the different stages of nodule formation in a particular plant root or a leguminous root. I was telling that specific receptor. These receptors, now they have also chemically characterized it, and they have shown that these receptors can be of lysine or it is sometimes leucine enriched. You can see here in case of Glotus japonicus, this particular nod factor is received by the lysine M factor or the lysine M receptor. And in case of Medicago truncutella, it is received by this particular leucine-rich domain. So this leucine-rich domain or lysine factor, these are specific amino acid receptor present on the root surface which will allow the plant to grow by accepting the specific bacteroid. So in this particular lecture, what we have learned? We have learned about the different aspects of nitrogen fixation, the different types of microorganisms involved in nitrogen fixation. I have also explained you the different ways by which nitrogenase is active. I have also explained the role of NIF gene and how the NIF genes are activated. I have also explained nod gene and how this plant and bacteroid specificity is maintained for nodule development.